What's up, good people? My name is Larry Jones. Welcome to Stock Up. If you're new to the page, please hit the like button, subscribe, and the notification bell. And if you've been rolling with me for a while and I've helped you in any way, please continue to hit the like button. It helps to keep me alive. It is Sunday, Father's Day. Whenever you see this, I am going to talk about two things in particular. One, I'm going to talk about now, and that is that we're going to discuss custodial accounts very briefly. If you're a father or a mother and your child is old enough to have a social security number, which is the date of birth, you can open up a custodial account for that child, male or female. And if you have 5 kids, you can open up 5 accounts. If you got 10 kids, God bless you. You can open up 10 accounts. So here's one of the things I want to tell you. There are Roth-like accounts where the money is pre-taxed, okay? And those are custodial accounts. I spoke with Fidelity Investments, and I discussed this with them today, and I'm going to post a phone number so you can call them directly, open up an account if you choose to, or just ask them the questions. They will freely give you answers to the questions, okay? Or check with your broker, all right? Call your broker and go from there. That's what I'm just not going to list the number. I just want you guys to call whatever broker you're using and ask them about setting up a custodial account. Remember, generational wealth is what we are building. We're not just consuming, we're creating. What we're creating? Wealth. Also, too, here's another thing that is mind-blowing that a lot of people are not talking about. You don't even have to be a child's parents to open up a custodial account. Now, if you open up a custodial account for a child, that money has to go to their child because that money is linked to their social security number. For instance, if you have a neighbor or you have a child that you want to leave some money, a godchild, a niece, a nephew, you could start that, especially those of you that are godparents. If you want to start a custodial account at the date of birth, then you can do that. And for those of you that's been following me for a while, you know I have something called $1 Million Cup of Coffee, or $5 a day challenge, meaning that you with just $5 a day, it could amount up to $1 million in just 25 years. Just imagine if you put away $5 a day for your child 25 years ago, and now you have $1 million for your child. Okay. So it all depends on the rate that you're getting on the investment that you're in, of course. Right. So those are the things that I wanted to talk about very briefly. So I know a lot of you have been asking for this information, and I thought rather than throw some more stock at you or to talk about AMC, which I will tomorrow, and other stocks, I wanted to talk about that today. Now, it's Sunday. For those of you that know me, I'm inspirational, but I want to talk about some life lessons that I know it's going to help someone out there. So if you're only here for stock, I'm through with the stock portion. But if you could just endure me for another couple of minutes, if this doesn't help you, it will help someone you know. A lot of you guys don't know, but I grew up as a single parent. All right. I grew up as a single parent. I did kind of grow with my kids because I started out so young, but I was a single parent. And, I had a divorce. My first marriage went bad. I had 2 beautiful daughters out of this union. And it didn't work. And being of a big family, I didn't want to be the first one that got a divorce in my family. So it was very devastating. And we were going to the same church. And I told myself then, I did a lot of things wrong in my past, but I did a lot of things right. Well, should I say some things right? The one thing I did right, and I'm going to talk to We're All Family, is I never gave up on being a good father. I said I failed at marriage, but I'm not going to fail at being a father. And so let's take a few minutes and just have an adult conversation, okay? And I'm going to refer to you men as brothers. I'm going to refer to you women as sisters. It doesn't matter if you're wearing Dolce & Gabbana, going to work every day, from Dolce & Gabbana to a do-rag, from a suit to shorts. It doesn't matter. I'm going to talk to the brothers first, the men. I'm going to tell you what I've learned. I will tell you that the day that I left and I said to myself, I had enough. Now, I'm not speaking for her because I knew she had enough. It was not a good marriage. I got married extremely young. I said, I literally put my clothes in a garbage bag and slept in a minivan and cried all night. But I knew in my heart of hearts, I was never going to give up on my kids. And I'm saying this to some of you brothers out there, young and old, white, black, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to tell you this. If you're watching this on Father's Day or you're watching this post Father's Day, I'm going to tell you the best decision I ever made in life was to fight for a relationship with my daughters. Fight. And now, brothers, I'm going to tell you, it ain't easy. Sisters, I'm going to tell you, it ain't easy. Now, this is not about picking sides. This is not about who's right or who's wrong. This is about being a good parent. And I'm going to tell you, brothers out there, if you went through this Father's Day and you didn't get a call from your child, I want you to consider this. When I was young and I had my kids, at first I was starting the whole coming, I get every other weekend, though it turned into every week. And then it turned into Wednesdays and Fridays because I was yearning to be with my kids. And I will tell you that, man, I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world, that relationship. I'm so glad I put the time in and I never abandoned my kids. So what I'm going to tell you is this. I don't care if you pick up the phone and she want to yell at you. You ain't no good, blah, 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 blah. You haven't supported me. You da, 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 da. I don't care if you call your kid's mother to speak to your kids and you have to hear all of that. I know, I've been there. I know it's hard. It's difficult. But fight for your kids. Continue to go through it. If you got to sit the phone down while she tell you you're no good and you say, okay, can I bite your tongue, put tape over it. Don't go off on her. Just bite your tongue, put some tape over your mouth and say, yeah, can I speak to my kids? Because your kids need you. And if you got a failed marriage, that's one thing. But you don't have to fail as a father. And I know I'm talking to some young brothers and some older brothers. I know some older brothers out there. You haven't talked to your kids in 20 years. I want you to think about today how you feel. And I know how you feel as a father. You feel like your life is incomplete because it is. God put something in your DNA that yearns to be connected with your DNA, which is your kids. And I'm going to call DNA dead now alive. That's just an acronym I'm creating, right? And so when you connect with your blood, your flesh and blood, that's a part of your dead now coming alive. And I know I'm talking to somebody out there that yearns for a relationship with their kids. And you thinking it's too late. They won't receive me. It's okay. Just go through that uncomfortable period. If it takes days, weeks, months, years, I'm going to tell you that it's worth it. And sisters, I'm going to say, hey, I know he messed up. Some of them. I know he didn't, for the ones that, the guy didn't pay any money and it's been years and it's been years and it's been years. You were right. He should be paying, okay? Because it's not cheap to raise kids. But I'm going to ask you, sisters, just to think about it. Now, this is not putting blame. I just want to ask you to think about starting the process and letting him. I'm not talking to the sisters that use their kids as a pawn. You're wrong. I'm talking about the sisters that rightfully need support, financial support from the father. I get it. And you have every right to be mad. All right. But the child also needs a relationship with his dad. And I don't care if he don't know. And I'm going to say this. When I was young and my little girls were little girls and I'm spending time with them on Saturdays, I didn't even know what to do. I would call my friends and go, hey, I got an idea. Why don't you grab your kids and let's go to the park and let's hang out. And some of my friends would be like, man, are you crazy? I'm not going to be left alone with my kids. Like I just called them and said, let's go rob a bank. Right. And a lot of you women don't know, men are men, but a lot of men are fearful because they don't know how to be a father. They've never been trained and they don't know, they can't deal with the silence. Okay, now what I do? Now what I do? And we need some programs to show men how to be men and show fathers how to be fathers. Okay. So what I'm going to ask some of you sisters is just reconsider, even if he's not a good role model for your son or your daughter, just let him, if he calls, start the dialogue. Just let him just say, hey, number one, spend some time with your child and then we'll work on the finances. Just give him a starting point, okay? You have every right to be mad. Some of you, it's been years and years and years and years, and you are due everything that's due to you. And to you brothers out there, I will tell you, as a male, as a French male, jokingly, I'm going to tell you that the weekends that I just had with my daughters, that's been every Father's Day, every year. If you told me I'll give you $10 million to take away that relationship, I'll tell you to keep your money because there's nothing in the world like it. But you have to put the time in now. And if this conversation doesn't hit you, everybody out there listening to me knows somebody that could use this message. Please do me a favor and send this to them. I'm telling you that it is time to start putting these relationships back together. Do you know your daughters? My daughters, man, I adore my daughters. My daughters learn how to relate to a man. Your daughter's going to learn from you as a man. You're your daughter's protector. Your sons are going to learn how to be a man from you. He's going to learn how to shave. He's going to learn how to dress, how to tie a knot in his tie, how to tie his shoes. He should be learning that from you. Every son should want to be like his father, right? And if you got to straighten up and fly right, then straighten up and fly right, man. After 2020, after all of the death and everything that's happened, I know you thinking differently. I've talked to a lot of you brothers out there. It's a lot on your mind, man. So if you're just hearing this today and you had a sad or you was feeling some kind of way on Father's Day because you look on social media and you see all of these pictures with the fathers and sons and fathers and daughters, it's not too late for you. And yes, you know, I had a wise man, my old pastor, Shepherd Littles, told me this in my divorce. He said, son, when there's a divorce, there's generally two things that happens. One runs out and tell all kind of lies on the first one runs out, tells all kind of lies on the second one. And then the second one lives his life living down the lies. And he looked at me and he said, you do not have to live down the lies. So now I'm not making negative of my children's mother, because if you ask her, she'll say it's my fault. If you ask me, I'll say it's her fault. But the truth is, it's our fault. It takes two people to make it right or to make it work. So just because you and your wife didn't make it, you and your girlfriend didn't make it, or you were just fooling around and a child popped out, now you have DNA that you need to unite with. It's if you're not with your kids, it's literally like walking around with a limb missing, an arm or a leg. And you feel empty. Brothers, you feel empty. And I'm sorry to hit you with this Dr. Phil stuff right now, but this is what's on my heart and on my spirit to share with you today. And so if this helps you at all, man, just dig in. Don't think about it. Pick up the phone and make the call. Call your kids. And if their mama get on the phone, and, what do you want? And da 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 da. Go through it. What I've learned through this is, through all of that hard time, I learned that this test, the test of my marriage, was my test. It wasn't my wife's test. God deals with her and her own tests. It was my test. And so my test on marriage, I got an F. I failed. I failed on my first marriage. Of course, I've been happily married now for 15 years, but my first marriage failed. But I got 2 beautiful daughters out of it. And I'm telling you guys, I used to spend time at the parks. I would be going to the parks with my daughters, the Clarice, the little, I don't know, you guys, you women know, the little earring places. I would just go and take them to the mall and just hang out. And when I didn't know what to do, I would just hang out my kids got tired of the mall. And guys were like, hey man, you want to come play some basketball? Or hey, I'm barbecuing. I'd be like, hey, it's me and my kids. And I went through a period of being lonely. Like it was just me and my kids. And yeah, you say, well, why are you lonely? Because I wanted some adult. I wanted somebody in the same boat as me. But what I learned is, as time went on, and there were Saturdays where their mom had them and I was out of town, I started getting lonely for my kids. And then I'd be calling, hey, what y'all doing? Hey, Dad, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? And then you start see the value. When your kids run up and hug you, you start seeing the value of the time put in. I'm sorry that I'm going on with this, but I'm just telling, I know somebody out there, some brother and some sister has to hear this. So I'm going to ask you brothers, man, make the call. I'm going to ask you sisters, allow the call. Allow them to just start the conversation with their kids. And I'm going to end with this. I came up in a family where my dad was a he-man. He was, my dad drove for CTA, Chicago Transit Authority, right? Which is, he drove the bus. We called him the Black Ralph Cramden, for those of you that's old enough to remember that. He was a man's man, carpenter, was built like the Incredible Hulk. And I didn't come up in a family where my dad said, I loved you every day. My dad didn't say that. My dad showed it. And I want to say this to some of you grown men out there. Your dad loves you. And sometimes we're like Neanderthal with our feelings. And he sometimes for that type of man is, believe it or not, some of you women, it's uncomfortable for a man to say I love you too. Because he had, especially if his dad never told it to him. But if he goes to work, like my dad worked his butt off. If I wanted something, he went to work to make it happen. 9 kids, he made sure he would work himself to the bone to make sure we had a good Christmas, things we wanted, school trips. He showed his love, though he wasn't the type that said, I love you every day, every 5 minutes, right? We do now, but it was one of those things that he showed it. So if your dad never showed you, never told you he loved you that way, but he showed you on a day-to-day like that, then call your dad. I don't care if you got grandkids and your dad's still alive. Call your dad and say, hey, Dad, I love you, man. Just call to say I love you. Make him uncomfortable. Make him say it. I bet you he say it back. And sometimes that's what he needs from you. So I'm going to leave it right there on this Father's Day. I just want to say, man, go get your kids. Bro, go get your kids. Just go get your kids. And open them up a custodial account. That's what this started out with. All right, good people, I'm going to leave it right there. I love you guys. It's Sunday. It's Father's Day. And I just, on my way going out with my kids, I drove by a cemetery that was 3 blocks long. And it was full of people spending time with their dads in the ground. Think about that. Think about that if you're not spending time with your daughter, your son, or you haven't called your father. I don't care what the situation is. Just think about that. Just miles and miles of it. I wouldn't give anything in the world in exchange for my relationship with my dad. I love my dad. I love my dad dearly. And I love my kids dearly. Okay? Don't miss out. Live, love, laugh, and learn.